Welcome back to The Explainer. If you clicked on this today, maybe you're feeling kind of stuck, exhausted, or just completely burned out right now. If that's you, I want you to take a deep breath. You're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking a really powerful framework from our source material for not just surviving, but truly understanding those heavy, low-energy periods in our lives.
I want you to really reflect on this for a second. Why do our lives suddenly stall? I mean, we've all been there, right? Everything is going great, you're making progress at work, your relationships are smooth, you're feeling energized, and then bam, you hit a brick wall. It feels incredibly heavy, it's frustrating, and honestly, it can make you question absolutely everything you were so sure of just a few weeks prior.
All right, let's jump right in with Section 1, the inevitability of slumps. The very first mental shift we need to make today is realizing that hitting a low point is absolutely not a personal failure. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Our source material, specifically Part 2, Chapter 4 on overcoming slumps, reveals some profound wisdom on how to navigate these exact periods gracefully, analyzing them deeply instead of just panicking and flailing around.
The text completely redefines what we're actually experiencing here. A slump isn't just a string of bad days or a run of bad luck. As it outlines, it's a fundamental life wave, a natural biorhythm. Even the people who seem to live perfectly smooth, incredibly successful lives, they inevitably encounter these waves too. It is completely built into the long human experience.
So, the crucial point is understanding the difference between how a slump feels in the moment and what it actually is. It is an illusion to think of it as a punishment, or worse, to convince ourselves it's a permanent failure. In reality, the source gently shifts our perspective to show that a slump is a period for recalibration. It's a spiritual test, a time when you're basically being tempered, like steel in a fire, to prepare you for what's next.
Once we accept that slumps are natural, we move to Section 2, identifying the root causes.
So why do we suddenly get pulled into these low periods in the first place? The text clearly outlines three primary triggers. First, sudden changes in previously favorable external conditions. Maybe things were just too good for too long and suddenly the bottom drops out. Second, shifts in how we evaluate ourselves, like a sudden harsh loss of confidence. And third, there are just inevitable life cycles and periods of spiritual destiny at play. Try to logically pinpoint which of these might have triggered your own recent stall.
Recognizing that trigger leads us directly into Section 3, the danger of overheating.
We really need to slow down a bit here and talk about the very real danger of running your life at absolute full speed without ever taking a breather. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It says, "Think of a car engine. If it overheats, it breaks down." The author explains that your soul actually acts as an automatic control device. When you are going too hard for too long, a slump isn't a failure. It's a built-in protective mechanism forcing you to stop before you completely destroy your own engine. There are severe physical and spiritual consequences to ignoring our own exhaustion. Sometimes, when a person is pushing relentlessly, a spiritual pause is triggered precisely to prevent a total physical breakdown. Your energy is entirely depleted, and your body is literally being forced by your soul to halt just so it can survive. Think about it like this. A spring must compress before it can jump. A battery absolutely has to recharge after discharging all of its power. If you are in a slump right now, give yourself permission to just be that compressing spring. You aren't broken, you're recharging.
Which brings us to Section 4, a time for rest.
This is all about honoring what your mind, your body, and your soul are demanding of you right now. The text defines this phase beautifully as a soul rest period. This is an absolutely essential time to gather your energy. Listen to me. It is not a time to panic. If you try to aggressively force your way out of a slump by just working harder and stressing more, you are only going to overheat the engine further. You just have to accept this time as a necessary gathering of energy. So, how do we actually rest without driving ourselves crazy? That brings us to Section 5, cultivating peace of mind. To endure and actually heal during this resting phase, we need to look at exactly what to avoid and what to embrace. An ego mindset deepens the slump, panicking, acting out of arrogance, extreme energy expenditure. But the cure is what the source calls the middle way. Instead of rushing, you rest and observe. Instead of arrogance, you practice humility and gratitude. You adopt a leisurely, balanced attitude. Cultivating this immovable peace of mind is exactly what prevents us from getting stuck in our own suffering. Because if we stay in that ego mindset,
We run into what the source describes as a spiritual disconnect. Think back when things were going well. Maybe you forgot your gratitude, got a little arrogant. The text makes a fascinating point here. In a slump, people often become incredibly self-centered, acting like a sick person who can only focus on their own localized pain. This isolation and egoism can actually attract negative spiritual influences. So a slump essentially forces us to shed this ego and reconnect with our gratitude and higher purpose.
Shedding that ego leads us directly to Section 6, escaping the predicament. This is where we start building that forward momentum to finally break through to the other side. During your recovery phase, you need to ask a vital question. What are you actually meant to learn from this downtime? Why were you given this specific phenomenon to experience right now? Stepping back to discover the true meaning behind your struggle is literally the key to unlocking the exit door.
If you are still feeling down on yourself, the text offers this profound reassurance. A slump is ultimate proof of past glory. Think about it. A completely mediocre, flatline life does not experience true slumps because there were no peaks to fall from. The very fact that you are in a slump right now means you are striving for greatness. You had real momentum.
So let's synthesize all of this wisdom into a clear path out. Here are the steps straight from the text. Step 1. Accept your soul's demand for rest completely without anxiety. Step 2. Shed any arrogance that built up during your peak and return to a state of deep gratitude. Step 3. Cultivate that peace of mind, that middle way, so you don't overheat again. And finally, Step 4. Once you are truly rested and recalibrated, tap into your infinite internal energy to step forward confidently. We're going to leave it there for today, but I want to leave you with this one reframing question. How will you use your current period of rest to prepare for your next incredible leap forward? Remember, the spring is just compressing. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take a deep breath, give yourself permission to get some rest, and I'll catch you next time.